Black Book, where we look at issues surrounding us as Kenyans, us as Africans, and us as people as a whole. Today we are privileged to have on set Madam Mary Muthiani, author of this amazing book, Beauty Beyond the Pain. How do we deal with the pain? How do we deal with issues that affect us psychologically? Do we go on a destructive path? Do we go on a rampage and cause destruction and anarchy to the people we love? Sometimes the pain can be so overbearing, it uproots our very existence and our very mindset. These are the issues we will be dealing with today. We are privileged once again to have Madam Mary Muthiani on the set, and we will be dealing with how best to deal with issues that surround our mental health and the pain that most of us carry. Many times we have heard stories and we have read in the dailies of how people have dealt with pain in the wrong way that has gone ahead to cause destruction and to cause death sometimes, unfortunately. So today we have on set our very second edition of Black Book, Madam Mary Muthiani, who will take us through her excellent book on how to deal with pain and tell us how she dealt with her own pain. Madam, thank you so much. I'm very privileged and very humbled to have you on set. So before we even start with the whole set and the whole program, I'd like to talk a bit about the book itself, Beauty Beyond the Pain. First, even before we talk about the contents, I'd like to appreciate the beauty of the book itself first. The covers are magnificent and appealing to the eyes. You can see there was a lot of work that went into actually making this piece admirable and very beautiful. So thank you so much for making it possible and making this book absolutely appealing to the eye. The book itself is shy of 190 pages, so it won't take long for you to read this book. I also appreciated the fact that the font that you used is very, very legible. Most times I've read books which have fonts that are very small, and sometimes it can cause problems, especially to many of us who have eyesight problems. So I really appreciate that. Apart from that, there are some very, very good reviews at the back. I think I'll just read them. Yeah, just read them. From Mrs. Nancy Mwabili of City Revival Temple, Nairobi, Kenya. She says this book is deep and authentic. Mr. David Maake of Eagles Christian Church, Johannesburg, South Africa. You'll feel every emotion. You'll finally experience hope and restoration. And from Karemi Gatimi, ghostwriter and publisher in Nairobi, Kenya, he says, heartbreaking, uplifting read. Indeed, you cannot leave pain. It's very nice, very nice. So thank you once again for being on the show. As I said, you're very, very honored. So let's start. So before we actually get into the nitty-gritties of the book, please tell us about who you are and how it is you actually came up with the inspiration to write this amazing.
First and foremost, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I'm really honored to talk about my book and of course my story. I always say that it's good to carry, because your story is your life. And so carry your story with honor and dignity, because that's your life. You know, you can't run away with it, from it. But I'm Mary Muthiani. I'm a born-again Christian. I'm a mother of two, a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. I'm an entrepreneur in Nairobi. I'm also a preacher of the word. Yes, that's basically me. Yeah.
And what would you say was the spark? Let me just say the spark.
Yes.
The spark that made you give us a brief synopsis of the story. And of course, I've also been privileged to read the whole book.
Yeah.
But I don't want to divulge everything to the viewers.
Yeah.
But give us a brief synopsis, because from the book itself, you say somewhere that you never thought actually you would go into authorship.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But something happened that sparked you or led you to that direction.
Yes.
So kindly share that with us.
10 years ago, I lost my husband in a very traumatic experience. It was hard, it was tough. James suddenly died when we were just within the city. We were from Karen, going home from an event, a church event. And on the way we meet some bad boys and they shooting, and unfortunately James died, Of course, when you lose a loved one, and especially a husband, life changes. Things are never the same again. It became a defining moment for me, because then I was much younger than I am today. My children were very young. My daughter was 3. I was 5 months pregnant with our son. So you can imagine I was just a young bride. We were 5 years married. So I was a young wife, bringing up a family. So James dies immediately, suddenly, when we were not expecting it, and that changed my life forever. And the journey from his death, you begin a journey. I began a journey that was really hard. Emotionally, things changed. My emotional life was affected, so much affected, that I always say it's a miracle that I survived that phase of my life, and so many areas of my life that changed. And so with time, you get better. With time you get better. And it was 5 years into his death that I began putting down my feelings, my emotions, and, and just scribbling things down, my relationship with God. And somehow I felt that I need to put down my story in a book for somebody, because I was getting better with time, and it was a realization within me that I never thought I could be where I am, but I am much better emotionally in so many areas of my life that seem to be in darkness. There seems to be clarity, there seems to be hope for the future. And so I just sat down and started writing. Of course, it's been a journey. Writing a book is a journey, it takes years. But, by the grace of God, last year I published the book.
Yeah, you published the book.
Yes.
So just to reiterate what you said, there was a lot of pain during that time.
There was a lot of pain. I mean, the pain that you feel or you experience after the loss of a husband, for me, I always say that there is no an English word that can describe that pain. When James left, there was so much darkness. I mean, you get engulfed. I got engulfed in darkness that I never thought I could one day be out of, because you never seem to see tomorrow. There is like no hope. How will I arise from this place I am in? I always say that you feel like a bird with clipped wings. When you take a bird and clip its wings, it cannot fly, and that's how I felt. I felt paralyzed, disabled. I felt hopeless. I felt crippled. So many feelings. I felt lost. I felt confused. It's just a miracle that I got out of that state.
Did you feel like you didn't deserve this? You didn't deserve what was happening?
Of course, because my husband, it's not like James was sick. He was a healthy man. He was a man with ambitions, a man with dreams. We had dreams together. We had plans for tomorrow together. We had children to bring up together, and he was a good man. He's a man that I was really looking forward to living the rest of my life with. So you go through all those emotions where you feel you don't deserve it. You ask God so many questions, and of course I always say that God does not have to answer you. You just have to trust Him even when He's not answering you through very many questions. I went through that.
You went through that, but you have said that from the very onset you have been you are a Christian first
Yes.
of all, and of course the book you wrote it for both Christians and of course non-Christians.
Yeah.
But after what happened to James, did it make you question your Christian principles and values? No. Having been brought up the Christian way and also having a really nice
that's a question
man,
that everyone asks me, and I always say that I think in all that the greatest miracle that God did for me is that I ran to Him. I did not run away from Him. So I did not find myself in a place where I'm doubting the existence of God or getting bitter at this God, at all He is there. My pain pushed me to God, though I already had a relationship with Him. But I went to Him in the sense that I was in such deep pain. I knew if I got out of God, I would mess my life up. Because there were so many voices around me, remember. Satan would give you a whisper like, end your life. I mean, get bitter at God, Job's wife tells their husband, curse him and die. For me, I escaped all that by the grace of God, in that I ran to God and I held to Him more. And that was my place of escape. That was really my refuge.
Sometimes I've read in the book as well, support structures are very important.
Yes.
And also you've talked about sometimes things happen in your life and the people who you thought were going to stand by you and support you end up fleeing.
Yeah.
So what would you say about the people who decide to live your life when bad things happen?
At times I think we human beings are not very good at handling some situations. And so when you find that a friend has lost somebody dear to them, you do not know what to do, and you step away. And sometimes we really can't blame people. For me, I concluded probably they don't know how to handle me now. I'm in tears, I'm in pain, and could be they feel not well equipped or well empowered to carry Mary along with them, and so they opt to stay away. And when you feel that people are not there, that's where now God comes in, because He says, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you, I will be with you in every situation and in every circumstance. And I always say that for I do not know how else I can counsel anyone or advise anyone without referring them to God. Because people will fail you, people will leave you, but He will always be there. And if we can learn to connect with God in our moments of pain, because He heals, He comforts, He walks with you, He makes sense. At times it doesn't make sense, but believe you me, He is always there to hold your hand, to speak to you, to encourage you, and just to help you move a day at a time, because there are moments when you just need it's just a day at a time. So people will not be there, but there will always be that one. I always say, could be, I've never met anyone who everybody ran away from. There will always be that one. And if there is no that one, look for them. I mean, probably look for a pastor that you see on TV, talk to them, or your mother or somebody. Look for somebody and talk to them. Don't die in your pain alone, because believe you me, you can drown in your pain.
It's true.
People have committed suicide, people have gotten depressed. You can find yourself in the place where you're drowning. Look for help. Look for help, even if it means seeing a doctor, it means seeing a psychologist or somebody, but look for help. Talk to somebody. If you go to a neighbor and knock and say, I'm sure somebody will be there to listen, but don't die alone, because pain has got the power to kill you. It's got the power to kill your dreams. You can be walking around but dead and not alive, and that's what pain has got, the ability to destroy your life for good. But don't come to that place. Look for help.
Okay, look for help.
My children were one of the greatest reasons I needed to be strong. And I would look at them and I would tell myself, Mary, you've got to conquer this. You've got to overcome this. You can't drown in this pain, because who else do they have? It's only me they had. It's only me that it's only me they had. You know, because at that age they don't know God. You know, you can't present God to them at that age. Of course, you will talk, but there's nothing much. They are young. So for me, it was my children. I knew that I needed to be strong for them. I knew that I had to overcome the pain for them. That season of darkness had to be prevailed over because of my children.
So now I want you to talk about the help and the rock you stood with, that stood by you, was God.
Yeah.
And of course, it was a bit easier for you because having been brought up in a Christian setting,
Yes.
and also having a staunch Christian man
Yes.
for a husband,
Yeah.
it was a bit easier for you. But tell us about that specific, special relationship you had with your father, with God the Father, that made you know always, even in the deepest of moments, that there was still a purpose, and He still held your hand.
Yeah. When you wear sunglasses, everything is filtered on the lens of that sunglasses. And one thing with sunglasses, everything appears darker on the other side than it really is.
Yeah, true.
And that's how pain or any challenge, a tough moment, a tough situation is with our lives. When we view life based on the lens of the pain, your life will appear impossible, will appear dark, will appear hopeless, because there is a certain lens that you're filtering your life with. I always say that get off the lens of pain and put on the lens of faith. Put on the lens of God. Put on the lens of hope, of faith. Jeremiah 29:11. You can stand with that even in your moment of pain. For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And so it's very important to ask or to question yourself. What kind of lens am I wearing right now in this situation that I am in? You could be going through a divorce or a sickness or the death of a loved one. It could be your career or your business is coming down. What lens do you have at that particular moment? Do you have lenses that are dark, that are filtering everything, and you're seeing everything as dark, as impossible, as hopeless, you know? But when you put on the lens of faith, you take the word of God, you take hope with you, things will be tough, dark, and almost impossible. But you know that there is life beyond this. This is just for a moment. Let me tell you, life is in seasons. Every season is bound to come to an end. There was a season I never saw myself where I am right now. Things seemed so dark, things seemed so impossible, you know, but as I kept on putting the lens of faith and trusting God with my life, I'm in a very good space now, you know. There is clarity for my future, you know. There is hope for my life. I see there is so much light for me in the days to come, because that season of deep grief came to an end. That season of crying came to an end. So God is very important in our dark moments. We need Him because He makes sense of the dark moments. He brings us to the place of light. He brings us to the place of hope. And someday we'll come to you come to the place where everything is clear. That you can look back. When you look back and join the dots, you see that God has been with me, and that my yesterday's pain has birthed something beautiful, has brought about something beautiful. You mentioned about me not knowing if I could write, but it is through my pain that I wrote my book.
True. And
I'm writing very many others. Yeah, because I've come to realize that I can write, you know.
Very well.
Yeah,
Very well.
I can write. And when James was here, I never thought that I could write.
Yeah.
But that pain brought that out of me. You know, that pain brought the writer in me. And so there is always light in the midst of darkness, you know. There is always beauty. You know, God says, I will comfort Zion and give them beautiful ashes. You know, God will comfort. I mean, you do not comfort somebody that is happy.
Yeah.
For me to comfort you, you've got to be crying. And so God promises, I will comfort her and I will give her beauty for ashes. You know, ashes, what brings forth ashes? Fire. You know, and fire is the dark, tough moments of our lives that seem to want to destroy us. And God says that He will intervene and bring something beautiful out of that fire, out of the tears, out of the grief, that He will comfort and He will bring beauty out of it.
Is it easy? Because sometimes all we want when we are dealing with pain is not someone who will talk to us. Sometimes you just need someone who maybe will allow us to cry on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need just someone who will allow us to vent, maybe even get angry. So sometimes it's not that easy for us as human beings to accept that all this has a purpose. The pain itself.
Yes.
What was that thing you held on to, or that thing you looked every day and said, even though I'm going through this dark time, I'm doing this because of this particular thing,
Yes.
or this people? What was that kept you sane?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can, you've already said it,
It's
we can
not
become
easy.
insane.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So what was that thing that always, even through your darkest times when you thought you were actually going to give up, that you kept telling yourself, I can't allow myself to
Yes,
do
yes.
that. I can't allow myself to go through a destructive phase. What was that?
My children.
Your kids.
My children. Remember, I was left with very young children. James left when I was 5 months pregnant.
Yeah. So one of your children has never seen.
Yeah. The boy has never met the dad, you know. So my children were one of the greatest reasons I needed to be strong. And I would look at them and I would tell myself, Mary, you've got to conquer this. You've got to overcome this. You can't drown in this pain, because who else do they have? It's only me they had. It's only me that it's only me they had. You know, because at that age they don't know God. You know, you can't present God to them at that age. Of course, you will talk, but there's nothing much. They are young. So for me, it was my children. I knew that I needed to be strong for them. I knew that I had to overcome the pain for them. That season of darkness had to be prevailed over because of my children. And of course, I knew that, you know, for the sake of God, you know, I needed to prevail also for God, to overcome for God. I can't go down and I'm a child of God. You see, He's got to look at me and be proud of His daughter, that Mary, you overcame. I knew you would go through this and come out victorious. Yeah, so for me, my children were...
There was no giving up.
There was no giving up. It was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness, it was tough. There are moments I thought I would die in the pain. There are moments I would be afraid of going to bed. You know, because, you know, there's a way that pain just chokes you. Literally. You feel like you're losing your life. There are moments I would be afraid of sleeping because I don't wake up in the morning and I'm dead. I don't know if you wake up find you're dead.
Yeah, it's true. It happens sometimes.
Yeah. So the pain was real. The pain was hard, but I had to be strong for my children. Yeah. I couldn't die. I mean, and we are strong now. If you meet them, I mean, God has been good. Yeah.
And increasingly, we're having, as I had said in the introduction, we're having cases where people have unfortunately dealt with their pain in the wrong ways.
Yes.
And it's an issue right now in the country because, okay, sorry to say, but especially us men. Us men, most of us don't have support structures. So, and even if we have support structures, maybe you go get your boys in the bar or over a football match, you know, and sometimes they even ridicule your pain. You know, sometimes maybe you might be going through a divorce.
Yeah.
You might be going through a death, you know. So how is it possible even for us as men to safely deal with these problems? Because nobody wants situations where you find women are targeted, for example, women are brutalized, women are love triangles. All these stories are in the media, and it's very unfortunate. But one of the main reasons we're having this interview today is to actually raise awareness and show that actually there is a good way to deal with the pain.
Yeah.
So what would you advise somebody who's going through pain right now, and probably they don't even have people to talk to, but they know there's a way I can get out of this pain, I just don't know how? What would you advise, especially men? Especially men.
Yeah. You know, the challenge of men is that men will rarely speak.
True.
Yeah, but if you're drowning in pain, I always say seek for help. Seek for help. If you can see
Is
a
it
pastor.
embarrassing to seek for help?
I think you men are just wired differently from us women. God created you in a unique way than us. Even us are unique. And one of the probably challenges that you guys have is talking about, I think because of your ego, you never like to expose yourselves. You feel you're exposing yourself when looking for help, but it's not wrong to look for help. You know, it's not wrong to look for help. It's okay to look for help, because if you don't look for help, then the people that you live with end up suffering. You know, if you get depressed, who will suffer? Your children, your wife, your friends, because you will end up doing the wrong things to relieve yourself of the pain, you know. So it's always good to look for help. And I've said that if you don't have friends to talk to, you know, we've got in the medical field, we've got psychologists.
Yes.
You know, you can look for a pastor. We've got pastors on the TV. You can look for a pastor. And there are very many good pastors that you can sit down with and tell your problems, and they are willing to talk to you. And I always say that probably of course, sometimes friends may not be of help, but relatives, your father, your mother, your somebody, but don't allow yourself to go down. Don't allow yourself to go down, because pain has got the ability to kill you, as I said. Pain has got the ability to destroy your dreams and to destroy you as a person. Don't come to that point. Look for help. Secondly, God is always there. And turn to God. You know, God is my experience is that God exists, because there are very many people that again say that God is not there. God exists, He's there, He's real.
And you've seen Him in your life. I've
seen Him in my life. I speak to Him. I talk to Him. He speaks back to me. So God is real. And in your moment of pain, call to God. You know,
He will hear you.
He will hear you. You know, there are many stories. I always say the many stories in the Bible were written for us. And one day a woman with her child, you know the story of Hagar and the baby. And they had been chased away from the home she knew and from the family she knows. And she left with a child. And in the midst of nowhere in the wilderness, she calls unto God. You know, she calls because she wasn't a Jew like Abraham and Sarah. She was an Egyptian. And probably she was an atheist, and she had lived with them and seen them worship Him. And she calls to this God. And God appeared to her in the wilderness and brought forth some water and gives her instructions concerning her and the baby. So God is there and God is real. And in the moment of pain, let me tell you, God is so much love that I've even written in my book that God is really moved by the needs of humanity. We do not, I know it's very hard for us to comprehend it, because we live in the midst of needs, and sometimes we think that God doesn't care. But God is very moved by the needs, by the cries, by the heartbreaks of humanity. And that is one thing that I experienced about God in my moment of pain. There are moments that God was real, just like the way you're real to me. There are moments in my house I knew he had come, and I would tell him, I do not know which seat you're seated on, but I could feel him so real. I could feel him, in my moments of pain. And so God is real. Let us learn to run to God in our moments of pain, because He cares for us. He is concerned. He doesn't want us to go down in shame, in brokenness, in pain, in distress, in depression, in all that. He wants to comfort His people. He wants to bring light to our darkness, bring hope to our despair, you know, give us hope for tomorrow. That is God. And so for men, turn to God.
Turn to God.
Don't die alone. If there is no one to talk to, there is God. And He loves you. He cares for you. He is concerned. There are many issues, men have very many issues to deal with. They are the breadwinners, we look to them as leaders in the society. There is so much that could weigh a man down, but it's good for men to know that they have a father. God is a father to them, and that He's willing to walk with them in the journeys of in the various journeys of their lives, whether it is in their businesses, their careers, their marriages, their parenting. God wants to be involved, and if they would invite Him, God will come with His grace, with His mercy, with His help, and He will, intervene in whatever situation they are trusting Him for.
Now, in many instances, you get most of us deal with pain the wrong way. We've talked about this a lot, But do you think from your experience that once you decide, for example, and I decide I'm going to start going on a drinking spree, just a negative way of dealing with the pain, do you think it works? Like if you decide to deal with the pain in a negative way?
No, it doesn't work. First and foremost, remember that you need to heal. So it prolongs your healing because you've not taken the necessary steps to heal. You've just...
what are these steps according to your journey? You don't have to be in chronological order, but what very, very important.
First and foremost, it's good to acknowledge that you are in a situation. What is my way out? How can I get out of this? I've lost a husband. Of course, a loss is death is different from many other things that people go through. But for me, how I dealt with the loss of my husband and coming to the place of my wholeness is first and foremost to, and of course, I don't know if some of these are automatic but getting over the shock, because you somehow you go through shock, you go through denial. You don't believe that he's dead. You're still hoping that probably someday I'll hear a knock in the house.
You even wrote that in the book.
Yeah, I'll hear a knock in the house and it will be him. You've got to see you've got to acknowledge, this has happened in my life and and as I told you that my children were a great motivation for me to want to heal. And so I knew that I can't stay in this place. I can't cry forever, I can't grieve forever. I need out as much as possible because life does not tell you to take a break, Life will not tell you, Mary, take a break, go and cry for 2 years, then come back. No, children need to go to school, children need to eat, children need to sleep, and so acknowledge that you're in a situation and begin the journey towards your healing. So when you drink, you're not helping yourself heal. You're actually prolonging your pain moment. When you start doing other funny things, you're not helping yourself. You're just prolonging a journey that must end for another to begin. Because you must grieve, you must overcome that for another journey to begin for you. You must overcome this darkness. If it's a divorce, you've got to deal with it. Do whatever needs to be done, heal your heart and see if you can move again to another relationship but some of these things do not help. They just prolong your pain. They just keep you down in the pit for more. They just keep you in the darkness for more time. But you can shorten your dark moment. You can take a shortcut in acknowledging and doing the right thing so that you can prevail over it. Again, some of these vices become addictions that again destroy your life. They just don't help the pain, but they destroy your life. They don't help you overcome the darkness, but they also destroy your life, because people that get into drinking, people that get into some funny habits, into running around, that is also you also help. You open a door for your life to be destroyed very fast. So you're dealing with a situation and you've opened a way for your life also to go down very fast. So it doesn't help. It's always good to take the right way and help yourself.
So you have to accept, first of all, that indeed this
has happened in my life. This is what I'm handling now, and I need to deal with it. I need to come out of it, and I must be the winner. I must be the one to conquer here. You know, I kept on telling myself, Mary, you can't go down.
Because that's a very important point you've raised. Your attitude.
Yes, your attitude.
Yeah.
You've got to have
it's
that.
It's an overriding theme in the book. Your attitude.
You must keep.
Because there's a sorry to interrupt. There's a common saying that says, if, for example, you're dealing with a drug addict, for them to actually get to where they are proud of who they are, or for them to get over their addiction, it has to start with them.
Yes.
They have to sit down and accept.
You've got to own up the problem. I have this problem. It is my problem. It is not my mother's problem.
True.
Yeah. It is not my mother. My mother is not mourning. She's not. It is me, Mary. And I've got to overcome this. At the end of the day, I've got to prevail. I can't go down. I want to raise my children a broken, bruised mother. No way. You know.
Because it's going to affect them.
It's going to affect them as well. Yes. I've got to be strong. I've got to wipe my tears. I've got to trust God to heal my brokenness, and I've got to move forward. At the end of the day, I've got to be a winner.
So your attitude is critical.
Your attitude is very critical. Yeah, because it again becomes the motivator of everyday action for you to get out of the darkness or from the pit.
You have to say in yourself, I know right now I'm not where I am supposed to be, but I want to get out of this place.
I want to get out of this place. Take the necessary action. And that's why I say that you'll have to look for help. If it means talking to a friend, talking to your mother, talking to a pastor, seeing a psychologist, look for help. It is you. Don't wait for me to come and bring help your way. Yeah, it is you to take the first step. Yeah. And declare that I'm going to be a winner. One day I will conquer this. One day I will come out victorious. One day I'll be fine. And today I'm fine. You know, I no longer cry for James. There's a time I would wonder, how will I raise up these children? I've owned my children, and we are moving on. You know.
How because that day in the vehicle, one of the children was there.
The two of them.
The two of them, yeah. The two of them were there. How was it for them?
It was tough for my daughter. It was really tough for her because first and foremost, we all had the gunshots, and then looking, James has been shot. Then Daddy has slumped on the steering wheel, and she's wondering why is Daddy like that? Wake him up, you know. Then the thugs came and you know, they terrorized us because they wanted me to pick his body, put in the boot so that I can drive away. I think they wanted to clear the scene for more robberies. Yeah, so it really affected my daughter, and for almost 3 months she would really scream in her sleep. She would
in the middle of the night.
Yes, she would really scream, and you wake her up. So I had to take her to a psychologist, you know, for her to be talked to and for her to be helped out of the situation. And she recovered. She recovered. I really don't think now she has the memory. Of course she has read, now she's big. She has read my book, now she knows the story, but I don't think she has the memory of really what happened that very day. She has been healed. Yeah, but I had to take her for counseling. Yeah.
You had to take the first step even for your kids.
Even me. I had to go for counseling. Yeah, I had to be helped out.
Okay, and in the book, I've also noticed there are particular characters you're very fascinated with. Let's talk about Joseph. Yeah?
Wow, Joseph amazes me.
Let's talk about Joseph. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think
I knew you would have a lot to say about Joseph, so I want to hear it. Joseph, I've read it, but I want to hear it.
Joseph really amazes me. He amazes me in the fact that he went through so much when he was a young boy. But one of the things that intrigues me about Joseph was the fact that he overcame bitterness, he overcame anger, he overcame hatred. Because if you know the story of Joseph, his brothers come over, and when he reveals himself to his brothers, he's not bitter. That
and he had the opportunity actually to reveal.
He was a powerful man then. He could have gotten them into prison. He could have killed them. I mean, he could have gotten them executed, you know. But Joseph had come to the place, he was so soft in his heart, and he had forgiven them. He was not bitter at all. And he tells the brothers, yes, you meant evil for me, but God meant it for the saving of the nation of nations. And one thing that about Joseph is that he does not see the pain. He sees what God was bringing out of the pain. Because here I am helping save people from famine. That is what God brought me here for. As a matter of fact, you people, God used you to help bring me to Egypt. It is very important for us to see the beauty in the pain. To see that, yes, I lost a husband, but see, here is a strong woman. Here is a strong mother. Here is a woman that can speak to nations and bring hope to people's hearts. That you just don't see the tears, but you see what God brings forth. Joseph to me is amazing. Despite he went through so much, but he's not revengeful, you know.
And you know, Joseph had very many instances that he was justified to give up.
True.
He was justified, like when he was falsely accused of sleeping with with the Potiphar's wife, and he was thrown into jail, sold to slavery by his very own flesh
brothers.
So he had so many instances where he was justified to give up, but he never gave up.
He never gave up. The Bible is not really clear about his relationship with God. The Bible is very silent on that.
Yeah.
But to me, I see a man that probably really knew God. I see a man that knew God, because there is no way you can come to that place of forgiveness, to that place of loving, if you do not know God, because God is love, you know. And Joseph comes to that place. And one thing about bitterness, and I've talked about it in my book, bitterness, anger, hatred, these are vices that really close up the heavens for you. That God wants to bless you, but you've helped withhold the blessing. Actually, it's not God wants. God has already released the blessing. But bitterness, anger, hatred in our hearts just closes and hinders the blessing from coming into our lives.
So you will attract who you are.
Yes.
If you have bitterness within you, if you have hate within you, that's what you're going to attract.
And I believe that is one thing that qualified Joseph for the wealth, the greatness, the power that God entrusted to him at that particular moment. God saw a heart that can forgive, that is not revengeful, that is not bitter at what he had gone through. And Joseph qualified himself for that blessing because of the kind of attitude he had towards people, towards the situation, and towards his brethren, his brothers.
Somebody else you've talked about is the story of Naomi and Ruth.
Naomi. And one thing why I talked about Naomi is because Naomi comes back to Bethlehem, and she says, do not call me Naomi, but call me Mara, because God. She blames God, and that is what happens with. It wasn't God that got Naomi to where she was. It wasn't God. She herself and her husband left Bethlehem, went to Moab, and for whatever happened, her husband and two sons died. And I understand the pain of Naomi. It's hard. It must have been hard for that woman. Don't joke with 3 graves in your backyard, and they are the graves of your husband and sons. I mean, she was beaten. Life had beaten her, but you see, she blames God, and she says, God has dealt bitterly with me, but it wasn't God. And many times we also tend to be like Naomi, that we blame God for the things and for the situations, while God has got nothing to do with what I can't blame God for the death. It wasn't God. I mean, Satan is around. I always say that we live in the earth.
Most people actually say, or have this perception that God allowed it. God allowed evil.
God is sovereign. Did God know that my husband would be shot dead that evening? Yes, he knew. Could he have prevented it? Yes.
Yes, he would.
But God allowed. I mean, but it wasn't God. You know, we should understand that from the Garden of Eden, the curse was pronounced on us, on the earth, and we have an enemy on the earth, and so he will do everything. And you know, one joy of Satan is when he strikes you and he causes you to believe that God did it, yet he did it. You won't blame him, but you will blame God.
Yeah.
And he feels that he has overcome, and that is his intention. That we see so much evil that he causes, and we blame God.
So the real test is not the pain itself, but how you deal with the pain.
How you deal with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what God's after. God is looking at that.
Yeah.
No, because pain will always be there.
Jesus told us and gave us a promise. John 16:33. In this life you'll have trials and tribulations.
True.
Those are the words of Christ. In this life we will go through dark moments. Yeah, but the most important thing he says that be ye of good cheer, because I have overcome. Jesus overcame for us to overcome. He actually overcame for us that we can also prevail and overcome.
And Jesus,
So-
he himself underwent a lot.
So much.
Yeah.
So much. And Bible says in Hebrews 12 that but because of the joy that was before him, because of the glory that was before him, he endured. So sometimes it's good to, Jesus saw a glory that was before the darkness, and that's why he endured the cross. We've got to know some of these challenges that come to us also prepare us for a glory. There is something that God asks for you that is beautiful, and so you endure. You choose to overcome. You choose to prevail. David says that though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and so it is just you're walking through, you're going through. That's why I say that these seasons are temporary, they're not permanent. God has got an intention of causing you to come over victorious and in power. Yeah.
Well, I think this is a safe place to take a break, because I think we've been running for close to 30 minutes. But yeah, so we're taking a break from Black Book. We'll be back right soon. Welcome back to Black Book. We're still having Madam Mary Muthiani. So privileged to have you here again. And so this is the second and final part of the review. And so I'll start off with forgiveness. It's a very strong word, and most of us struggle with actually understanding what forgiveness really means. You hear, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. Yeah, you hear, it's very hard for me to forgive. And sometimes you actually look at the things that happen to us as human beings, and sometimes it looks like it's actually justified not to forgive. But what would you say, or what would you comment about forgiveness? Because what happened to you is just heart-wrenching. Talk to us about your path of forgiveness. I know you've talked about it here, and it's a big aspect of the whole healing process.
Yes.
Talk to us about forgiveness.
Well, forgiveness is not easy. I won't say that it's something that you wake up and do. No, forgiveness is not easy, but we are demanded. It is demanded of us to forgive. Jesus said you forgive 70 times, 7 times a day. Those are so many times a day. That means that you have no reason not to forgive. Secondly, forgiveness then keeps the wound afresh in your heart. And one way that to help yourself heal of any situation, and especially when you're offended by a fellow human being, if you want to let go, if you want to heal, if you want to have that in your past, then forgiveness is very key. You won't heal if you're not forgiving. There are many incidences, like let's say like mine. I mean, James was killed by my fellow human beings. I needed to forgive them. I needed to come to the place where I release them. I'm not angry, and that is not a very easy place to come in. But it was very critical for me to come there for my healing to take place. And I remember even as my children grew and they got to know the story, I also had to tell them to forgive. Because when they are big and they know that daddy was killed by some young men, then they would wonder, where are the men? How? But I tell them, I had to tell them, you've got to forgive. You've got to ask God to help you forgive. We can't forgive without the help of God. Of course, we've got to tell God to help us to forgive, because forgiveness is divine. It's not something that a human can just do, without the help of God. Forgiveness is divine, and that's why we need the forgiveness of God, the help of God. Secondly, if you want to forgive, Bible says that God will also not forgive you. You want to be forgiven of what you've done to him or to others, but you won't forgive others. It's very, it's good to know that if you're going through pain and you want emotional healing, psychological healing, it's good to know that it's important to know that you need to let go of your offenders. You need to let go of the people that hurt you. I am not in any way undermining anyone's pain, because there are people that have gone through so much in the hands of their fellow human beings. There are people that have been raped. There are people that have been, abandoned and rejected, probably by even their own parents, and that is very painful. But for you to move beyond that, you need to forgive. You need to let go, because as long as you hold on, you hold on to them in your heart, you will never move on. And forgiveness then hands you back the power as the person, as the offender, when you let go, when you forgive them. Somebody said that unforgiveness is like poisoning your water and drinking it. And is this something? Do they say like that? You expect not to,
for the water not to harm you.
Not to harm you.
Yeah.
We need to forgive. And I said, forgiveness is divine. You will need the help of God to forgive when fellow human beings have hurt you. And forgiveness gives you the power to ask God for the next blessing in your life, for the next step, for the next direction, for the next blessing. Because if you're not holding on to people, then heaven just opens over you. God just releases. Whatever he has released just comes into your hands. There is so much we hinder, we block from our lives because of some of these things we hold into our hearts. Because of bitterness, anger, unforgiveness, hatred. We hold so much blessings from flowing into our lives. But once we let go, it's like you open the pipe and the blessings just flow.
What advice would you give to couples, for example? I know maybe this is not related to the book, but in one way or another it is, because as I said earlier, most of us don't have the means and don't know the constructive ways of dealing with pain. What advice would you give to young couples who increasingly find it hard to deal with the pain and end up doing these destructive things we've talked about? What advice would you give them? We've talked about the place of God, and we've talked about talking to people. Just tell them right now that indeed there is a way out of that pain.
Okay. Is it couples that are...
Yeah, couples that are young couples, either married or cohabiting couples.
Or where they don't come to the place where they harm one another.
Yeah, because this story is really... I really feel for people who go through this. It's all of us. It's not anyone.
Yes,
all of us. This is our society, and we're interested in our society. So, if we can try to do our part to stop these incidences of people killing each other in love triangles, or somebody has decided to end their life, end their children's lives, end their spouse's lives. It's very bad. So. Because you were there, your pain necessarily wasn't like a divorce or a breakup. What would you advise these people?
Well, like I said, it's always good to look for help. If you come to realize that there's a problem in your relationship, there is anger issues, because anywhere you find that one killed the other, believe me, there is anger issues, there are, or whatever issues, whether it's finances you're arguing about.
Underlying issues,
look for help. See how you can be talked because sometimes we get into marriage without knowing, without a manual on how to handle our differences, our different temperaments, our different way of handling issues, and that comes up so much, and people find themselves at loggerhead because of their differences. And you find one has an anger issue, one is probably careless, one is not thinking about the relationship, one is out there, and look for help. Believe you me, if some of these people would have looked for help, could be somebody would not have lost their life, or a child would not have been killed or something. But anytime you feel that there's trouble brewing, look for help. And of course, in marriages, men have a problem. They don't want to go either talk to a pastor or talk to a parent,
even
or
counseling.
They don't want, and that becomes a challenge, because one party cannot carry a marriage. It takes the two of them to carry a marriage, but look for help. If you feel that your husband has anger issues, or your wife, talk to and go seek for, how can we deal with this issue? It's already in our marriage. It's already, we have an issue in our marriage. There are people out there that can help couples, that can help marriages. There is help. I always say there is help. Don't die in your marriage. Don't let your relationship sink. Invest as much as you can in it, because nobody forced you to marry that woman, that man. You married because you loved one another. And if there was love, then on the foundation of that love, you can build the relationship. And one way that you can build a relationship is, if there's an issue, call a pastor, call your mama if she can help, call an elderly couple who you think can help, talk to them, let them help you navigate through that. And some of these things are just in a season in a marriage. There are people that probably find that no longer argue. They overcame, after some time they overcame. So these things are normal in most marriages, but people choose to overcome. The two of them talk, or invite a third party who can come and help them, navigate through the challenges. So look for help.
So so looking for help is always advisable.
Yes. And especially from elder couples.
People
don't
who've
look
been there
for help from your age mates or from your single sister who is not married. They want, look for serious help.
Serious people.
Get a counselor, get a pastor, a good pastor that you feel can help you. Get an elderly couple. Get your parents if you feel they have the wisdom to help you. But look for help. Don't wait for your husband to kill you. If he can be talked to and helped by a pastor or by a psychologist or whoever. Yes.
There's one more person I want you to talk about.
Yes.
Who you've alluded to in the book. Is there any person in the Bible who went through so much loss like Job? Because you've talked about Job.
I don't think so. Because Job lost his 9 children. Were they 9 or 7? He lost his wealth. He lost everything. Even his wife, he lost her because for whatever reason she wanted him to curse God, and I believe probably after then she left or something. But Job went through so much. But one thing I believe about the story of Job is that the Holy Spirit inspired it to be in the Bible, for it to teach us that we can still worship God in the midst of our dark moments. Because Job chooses, I came naked. If I go naked, it's fine, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and in the end I will see it. It didn't matter what he had lost. What mattered was his God, and he continued to worship God. He maintained the stance of worship in a dark moment. Many of us
never gave up
on God. Many of us find ourselves there are people that stop going to church. They stop reading their Bibles, stop associating themselves with Christianity, leave God because of a dark season. But Job challenges us that yes, we can be in the place of loss, we can be in a place of deep pain, but we can still bow down, worship, lift up our hands and worship God. Yes.
So the story of Job is really relevant.
Very relevant to us.
So I'd like us to talk about the beauty now. the beauty beyond the pain.
Yeah.
We've talked about pain.
Yes.
And the forms of pain that we as human beings can go through. Tell us what beauty beyond the pain looks like.
Yeah. Okay. For me, beauty beyond the pain means I've come to the place of light. I'm no longer crying for James. I'm no longer wondering how will I do life without him. There was a moment when I just couldn't imagine life without him. I've come beyond that. I've come to the place of healing. I'm emotionally healed. God has healed my heart. God has wiped my tears. You know, I'm at the place where I've found purpose. I've written a book from my story. I never thought I could write. And because of that, I'm writing very many more others. I mean, this year I'm trusting God to publish another book.
So probably you'll be here again.
Yes. Yes. My pain has brought forth a woman I never thought I could be from me. You know, people tell me, Mary, you're very strong, and I tell them, wait till the strength is demanded. You will have no other option but to be strong. It's not a strength that went collected from somewhere. It is a strength that was within me that just needed a situation for it to come out. And so for me, the beauty I've said is the healing. Is my book is my beauty. I've come to the place where I can tell my story without breaking. For me, the clarity I have about my life. I've written down my dreams. I've written down the things that I want to accomplish. There was a time I never thought I could do anything. I would wonder, God, how will I? But now I see I'm doing it. You know, I'm doing it without him. You know, that's my beauty. Another beauty is that I've come to the place where I can accommodate another man in my life without thinking about James.
Yeah, you've also talked about that.
Yes, my heart is now ready for somebody else without my past memories interfering. You know, and that's a very great place to be. Yeah, that's a very great place to be in, because there is a time I just never thought I can love another person. You know, how can I love another person? But you know, God brings you to a place where I don't see myself as a widow. You know, I see myself as a single woman, and a future bride, if God allows it. Yes.
In fact, there's somewhere I read in the book, the first few chapters, where you kept feeling a sense of shame.
Oh yeah, a sense of
shame. Even you gave an example, like when you went to church, and you were seated there, and all you kept feeling was shame. Talk to us about that.
I don't know where that came from, but I remember in my initial years there was so much shame. I would feel like there was an exposure. I don't know. It's because of the covering that a husband gives a woman. But I would feel shame, not fear, not vulnerability, but shame. I would just feel a lot of shame. I've never understood where that came from, but it was there, and it was very real. I would walk through the streets of Nairobi just feeling shame. You know, I would probably, you know, because we spent so much time with James in this city. You know, his office was down there. You know, sometimes I would pass by where he would park his car, and I would just feel, you know. So the shame was there, and till today I've never figured out why I would feel shame. At least I can explain pain, but I can't explain why I would feel the shame, but it was there.
Maybe it was a response
Could
to
be, I don't know.
A traumatic response.
I don't know, but it was there. It was very much there. But now I no longer feel shame.
With time it subsided. It just
time
ended.
It's left, and now I'm good.
You're good.
You know, I feel confident as a woman. I even don't refer myself to as a widow. You've got to remind me that I'm one. I don't. I took away that garment, and I tell myself that I'm a woman. I'm an intelligent woman. I'm a beautiful woman. I'm a capable woman. Yes, and my life is ready for marriage, if God so wills for me.
So what should we expect from Madam Mary Muthiani in the next few years?
One thing is that I'm writing. I write a lot. So I've written several books.
Wow.
Yes, I've written several books. Yeah, and I'm trusting God that before I go, I'll have a few copies under my name that I'll leave for the next generation. For me, it's the wisdom of God. Yeah, and I've told God, if there's anything that I want to leave for the next generation, is His wisdom. And God has privileged me to as a teacher of His word. So I want to put that into writing and leave to my generation and the generations to come, for them to know that to be an epitome of strength, an epitome of wisdom, and for me to stand for God and for them to know that yes, you can go through a tough moment and come through it. That there's beauty in the wilderness. There's beauty from the wilderness. There is beauty beyond the wilderness and beyond the pain. If I've said if God so wills, then I desire marriage again. It's not wrong to desire marriage. The Bible says it's not good for a man to be alone. So there's a man somewhere who is alone, and it's not good for him to be alone. Two are better than one. That's scripture too. Yeah, so it's not wrong for me to desire marriage. Secondly, I always say that I was happily married. So I do not know how a bad marriage tastes like. Probably if I was in a bad marriage, I wouldn't be desiring one. But because I know the importance of a good man, and so I'm trusting God for another good man in my life. The other thing is that I'm a preacher, so I'm trusting God for Him to open doors for me to influence my culture with the Word of God. See, that's why I have a YouTube channel that I teach people the Word of God, and one of the key areas that I specialize in my preaching is giving hope to people, that there is hope in God. Have the lens of faith in your life. Have faith. With God, all things are possible. Yes.
So, how do we know, or how does one know, like when they are at that point where they are over that pain and now they're in the beauty part?
It's just evident within you. You just know that I've overcome. Yeah. You. How do you know?
Does anything change, or
of course
you become more comfortable with yourself? You start realizing your dreams even after the traumatic experience.
When you're willing to pursue your dreams. When, like for me, I'm able to talk about James without breaking. Yes, I'm able to the fact that I'm willing to have another man in my life, and that for me took time. I think for me that since the year 2017, 2018, I was really stuck with James for quite a while, because 2011 to 2017, that is 6 years, but since 2018, I'm good. You just get to know, there was a time I even wouldn't talk to a man. As a matter of fact, I went through a season that I just didn't want to see them. I would see them and I would wonder, why did mine have to die? I wouldn't bring myself to talk into one. But now I'm free. I can talk to you. It's easy now. So you automatically know when things have changed on the inside of you, when you're healed, when you want, when you desire, when now you are in pursuit of your dreams. You get to know when you're out of the pit. You get to know when you're out of. I think the light is more than the darkness. When you come to the place of light, it's evident you're in light. You're in the light. Yeah.
Okay. So, in conclusion.
Yes.
Where can we get this amazing book? Where do we get your book?
My book is in Keswick Bookshop. Yeah, they have my book. Anyone that wants it can also call me. Yes, and also from the online store, Nuria.
Nuria. That's where I purchased mine, actually.
It's in Nuria.
Okay. And how much does the book go for?
From Keswick Bookshop, I think it's 1,000. Bob. If you call me, it's cheaper.
It's cheaper that way.
Yes. From Nuria, I don't know how much they sell, because there's so much they take, then they give me my share. So I don't know.
Where can we find you? Your handles, your maybe.
Yeah.
You said you have a YouTube channel.
YouTube channel is Mary Muthiani. Facebook Mary Muthiani. Instagram Mary Muthiani.
Okay.
Just Mary Muthiani.
Mary Muthiani.
Yeah.
Mary,
Yes.
thank you so much again.
Most
being
welcome.
on the show.
Most welcome.
So much insights.
Yeah.
We are honored and privileged that you've been able to grace our second ever edition.
Wow.
And may God continue giving you abundance. May God continue giving you blessings that you deserve.
Thank
and
you.
You are a really, really strong woman.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
So that was our second ever edition of Black Book with Miss Mary Muthiani. We are honored and privileged again that we have had the chance to actually have her and do a book review on her amazing book. From all of us from set, we're so happy that you could have joined us today, and we hope that you can also as well purchase this book. Absolutely imperative book for any forward thinking and any person going through pain right now. It's Beauty Beyond the Pain, Mrs. Mary Muthiani. But from all of us, thank you once again, Mrs. Mary, and we are honored, and we hope to see you again next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.